What is like what are we doing? Like what is happening? What up, guys?
Rock it out.
What up, guys? Welcome to the latest Chillporeal, and today I am honored to have Lady B with us, Lady Balefire. Thank you for doing
Hey,
this.
how are
What up?
you? Thanks for having me. Good afternoon. First of all, did you survive last night?
I crashed right after. I couldn't stay up any longer. So I crashed and I tried to forget everything that I did, everything I
Yeah.
watched.
I just kind of crawled in bed and I wasn't feeling good anyways because I have fibromyalgia and I've just been like totally out of it this week. It's been a bad pain week. And you know what? I just said, Alex, can you please hold me? Because I can't just
So
go.
by the way, everybody, this video was sponsored by Prophet the Dragon, and this is his message right here. What is happening? So I managed to get 2 clips. I have to find more, but we love
There's
you,
so many
Prophet.
good ones. Yeah,
Oh,
wherever you
geez.
are, Steve.
Just that dark friend daycare video he did. Like if you're upset, if you feel down, watch that video.
TLM, guys.
Seeing Steve suffer like that is so heartwarming to the soul. Oh, I was on a good mood leaving work a couple days ago, and I listened to that video, and it just got me out of a bad mood. So I was just like that. I love whenever he said what's happening. I just cracked up. So
I know
but
it's really funny. And then like one of the guys on our server made a really funny one with like doing the ASPCA commercial with Sarah McLaughlin. It's like in an arms of the angel, like every 5 seconds, a child is murdered or killed or something like that. It was really funny, but how do you
okay,
not make
so
fun of that?
exactly. All right, so before we start, I want to say hello to the chat, obviously.
Oh
So we have
yeah.
Angry Mexa was here earlier. Buenas tardes. I
Ooh,
can't
thank
wait. Angry
you.
Mexa just hit a milestone of 100. I'm sorry, 1 million views, which
Wow.
I have not achieved yet. So congrats, Angry Mexa. And Golden Age
Mexican.
Geek he also got a milestone too. He got to 2,000 subs. He is growing. He's delivering brilliant content. Definitely someone to check out. He's very critical. He covers the news of everything, so definitely check him out. Angry Canadian, another great guy. My video game cohort. We love to talk video game music because that's what I like to listen to, other than maybe some nerdy anime tracks or Japanese city pop or 80s 70s
If the video game
classical.
music isn't Mag singing that Final Fantasy song, I don't want to hear it.
Oh, her stuff
So
is
good.
so good. So, and of course we got member Molinaire. What is up? Thanks for being here. I know you had to suffer through Wheel of Time. We have
Yeah.
Al Dan, the man. Al Dan's been all over the place. He's been all over the place, just leaving comments on all the different Wheel of Prime or Wheel of Prime videos and everything. He's been pretty positive, and see that's the thing. People say that the stuff that we're doing is toxic. Is not toxic. I mean, there are points where I feel that we could do better, but it's not toxic. We are willing to have a conversation with you. We are willing to talk to you, and we are willing to hear you. I mean, can we say the same about you? That's the question. So,
Yeah.
but Al Dan is awesome. Lady B got Staple Bow, and he's wondering why I have Uno's impaled on the in the background, because it is the most ridiculous thing I saw yesterday. I was just like, because does it happen in the book? No. So they just did this for Walking Dead level shock value.
I
That's
feel like
it.
it's just like it's something. It's like when you're like 14 and you want to be super edgy, so you go around like saying curse words and like burning Bibles and stuff. Same energy.
Yeah, same energy. And of course, another recent member, Mark Clark. Welcome.
Oh, Mark, yeah. I remember all you guys from last night. I hope you all drank a lot of water and got a lot of good sleep last night.
So, are you having anything to drink? I'm actually going to have something to drink
I
tonight.
am, I had a bunch of alcohol last night. I was drinking cider and I was making raspberry mules. And so today I am sticking with my homebrewed kombucha. I don't know if you could see this, but I'm really
Oh,
excited. This is my new batch that I started out in Iowa, and it has, see if you can see it.
so that's
Can't really.
kombucha.
Yeah,
Kombucha.
kombucha, and it's I'm really excited because like the flavor is different, I think, because the water out here is different from the one that I'm used to in California. And I was worried because it's like also a little colder in here, so I'm thinking the fermentation isn't going to be as great as it was back at home.
Yeah.
And I'm actually pretty happy because it's got nice, very good number of bubbles, and it tastes pretty good. So
Nice.
getting
Nice.
used to
Cool.
it, yeah.
So I'm going to be drinking something that a certain All Horse or actually had me taste when we first did our whiskey stream together.
Oh my
If you
god,
don't know who the
that
All
was
Horse is,
epic.
that's a pips of a horse
That
with
was
the
so
thing.
epic.
So this is Glenn Morangi. This is the stuff that he remembered me saying I didn't like. So it was kind of awkward when I bought this, but then I tried this again, and I kind of enjoy it. So I'm going to have this for the first time on stream. So get to hear
Cool.
the
What
work.
are the tasting notes on that?
It is a this is a what do you call it? This is a sherry. What was this? It's a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. This is a bourbon sherry. This is made bourbon and sherry casks.
I
And
love those. Oh,
this is
so
rich and
good.
sweet with notes of raisins, honeycomb, chocolate covered hazelnuts, and cinnamon.
That is oddly specific.
Yep, that's what it says on the box. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky as I probably wouldn't know otherwise. So, but before I even go any further than that, I want to say hello to my friend Brian Anderson. He's here, friend real life, and we got Daniel's here. What's up, Daniel?
Jacob.
We got Jacob here. We got
Master of the
Gadfly Fiction,
TDS. Gadfly. Wow.
Fiction, my intellectual brother from another mother. Okay, that sounded weird. Hey, I'm a '90s kid. What can you say? And Master of the TDS, sir, what's up? So everybody's coming for you, Lady B. Everybody's coming for you.
Well, if you did, thank you. I really appreciate it.
So I forget. Like yesterday, I was watching Wheel of Prime and season 2, and I wasn't nearly. You're gonna find this surprising, but I wasn't nearly as bored with it. But at the same time, I was also. I swore in my notes when I was typing my notes when I was watching it yesterday before I got on. That's why I was late. I literally said "fuck this show" at least 5 times, and I said 5 times, and another 5 times I wrote down who the hell wrote this. So yeah. I actually have my notes up right here.
Isn't it weird because it felt like the show like dragged a lot, but also like nothing happened.
Yeah,
felt like everything was rushed, but nothing happened.
Like for starters, the very first scene of the first episode, like you have the Dark Friend Social, the famous, prologue of The Great Hunt. And I'm going to be honest, based on what The Great Hunt showed, and I highlight this, Eyes Wide Shut is more accurate to The Great Hunt than this was.
Honestly, I actually put that in my review. I'm like, you know what? It's not like they have nothing that they can base this description on. And I just have that part where like Tom Cruise is walking into the mask thing and he puts his mask on and there's just all those people. Like reals, guys.
Like what was the point of that? Like, what was the point of that scene? Like, it didn't pay off at all. It was, what was it? Just to make us sympathetic to Trollocs? Was that the point of that scene?
I'm just like, it's that stupid postmodernist thing where they want to like, okay, everything is gray, everything is gritty, everything is realistic. Like, we're going to deconstruct the bad guys. And I'm just like, no, like high fantasy is known for its themes of good and evil. There are things that are objectively good. There are things that are objectively evil. You're not going to try to give them a redemption arc. And when you do, it is as stupid as Galadriel and Sauron on the freaking raft making out. Like, that's just dumb. It's stupid. It's fan fiction.
I mean,
No,
like,
girl,
like the
you can't
kid,
say
like
that.
what was with the like that was just like, and Prophet's reaction was perfect. And you know what? I'm going to play that again because it's just so funny. Here it is.
What is like what are we doing? Like what is happening?
What's happening? What's happening? I
Why?
love
Like,
this.
why is it like they always do weird things with kids that are super creepy? Like, that's some kind of groomer level crap. Like, he's picking her up and he's like taking her out and see, these bad things, these evil creatures. Well, they're not really evil, it's just like you just don't know them, right? And he's petting it. Like, it's so creepy.
They're hungry, like
Yeah.
they're hungry. I'm like, for a second, like that guy should run from. I hate to sound political here. He should run for be mayor of Chicago. I won't go any further than that.
You know what? We were okay. So I sent you some pictures, and we can share them later. But I've been traveling with Alex from the White Cloaks. He's my boyfriend, and I actually went to work with him, and we live in City Rapids, and we go to Columbus. And we actually drove there one time, and we stayed in Chicago. And I have been downtown Chicago once, but we took the L there, so I didn't get the experience of driving underneath all the buildings. And so I'm just like tripping out because first off, there's that building that looks like the Eye of Sauron. It's so creepy. And I'm just like, that's nice. And then we get underneath the buildings, and I'm like, I bet there's orcs somewhere down here. There is definitely a colony of goblins. Like, it was just unreal.
You took the L, you took the blue line to downtown.
This was the second time I went to Chicago. So the first time I went there, we took the L, so I didn't get that experience. And then this time we drove in, so we came up from the south side, and
okay. You guys take
that was a little hairball.
1994 or something to get up.
I don't remember really, but we ended up, because there was so much traffic, we kind of drove through the city, and it was not the nice part of the city. So we're like, just like, okay. It was pretty though. I mean, like downtown Chicago is really nice, but man, it's such a trip. I mean, on the West Coast, we just don't have stuff like that because of earthquakes and whatnot. And it's the closest thing I had. It was like the Hollywood subway, but that does not go very far. And
yeah, I mean, like honestly, like like where I live, it's actually pretty nice up here. Like there's nothing, like there's no. I mean, there's homeless up here. I mean, there's homeless living in some of the bus stops, like some of the the bus stops they have, like the little shelter you can sit down, shelter from the rain. I mean, there's like wagons and lawn chairs and places like especially right by the place where I actually met up with Alex when he came to Chicago. So yeah, I met Alex. I met Alex, and the reason why I actually went to East Coast was because Alex kind of inspired me to do that. I kind of wanted to, after meeting him, I wanted to meet everybody else. So
that's so fun. Yeah, that trip we got to meet Amanda Manethra and Nathan, and he was introducing us to some really amazing bourbons and whiskeys, and that was really fun. And I think we did a stream with Steve that night.
Yeah,
and we had a great time. And I was hoping, like, when we came back from that trip, that we could have visited you, but we ended up getting there like pretty late, and we had to leave pretty early because Alex had work things and calls and stuff. So it didn't work out, but we definitely want to go see you again. And it was pretty funny.
I know you guys were in Chicago. You guys were in Chicago, and I was doing my Chillporeal with, I think, Pips, I believe.
Pips, yes. Yeah. And we started that like fight about pizza.
Yeah, and then we got into a fight about pizza, and like I'm like alone here when it comes to Chicago style pizza. You guys went to Giordano's. I've been to Giordano's years ago. I mean, it's okay. It's okay.
It's like wearing your underwear outside of your pants. Like the sauce goes inside and the cheese is on top, so it gets like crispy and nice.
You didn't get the deep dish?
Yeah, we got the deep dish. Like Alex,
the sauce is on the top. The sauce is on top.
Yeah, he bought a big thing of it, and we bring it home, like to our hotel room, and I'm like, this is not pizza. Like it's like lasagna or a calzone without a top.
Yeah, my friend is actually correct here. Most of Chicago is actually pretty nice. Just a few pockets of disaster, to go, travel further south.
I mean, I used to live like outside of LA, and unfortunately, in that area, it's not just a few pockets. Like east of where I live is a really awful area. south is really bad too. There's areas in the city that I used to live in that were just really bad too. And LA proper is just awful. So
Yeah. I did go to LA once. I went to LA for another friend who I just did a Chillporeal with him, Marty. He had his wedding in
that's
Los
cool.
Angeles. So I actually went to Los Angeles for the first time. I felt the compulsion to listen to gangster rap because, West Coast shit,
Rolling down the streets, smoking
Fuck
and
the police. But yeah. So I actually enjoyed, like, I rented a car, so I actually drove in LA. Wow,
Oh, that's
it's
fun,
a
huh?
major difference. There's a major difference
Isn't it
in
weird?
driving in LA compared to Chicago. When someone says California driver, now I know what they mean. Like it's dangerous to drive in LA.
I know. I was like kind of wired out in Chicago because I was driving my car that time, and it was like, okay, the speed limits there are really low, but like nobody goes the speed limit. But I don't know because I've never been there, so I'm like, are there cameras on stuff? Like I don't know because here there's a bunch of cameras. But it was fun, and I couldn't get over all the toll roads out there. That was just strange.
Yeah, like I literally, like, I rent a car, and you know how car rentals don't give you, like, like here we call it iPass, where it's like a
Oh yeah, the
transponder
iPass. Yeah,
they'll automatically take money out of your accounts and everything. But
yeah.
I don't know, but for some reason the car rental agencies don't offer that. And so I was using Google Maps, or maybe I was using I forget what I was using, but I was using a GPS, and I didn't take off, avoid tolls or avoid that. So I ended up like going through like all these transponder areas. And I ended up, like,
Oh, I know.
by
It's
the
like
time I got
there's a
back,
whole
oh my
bunch
God,
of land.
I got a letter from the city of Los Angeles, or the state of California, billing me like $300.
Isn't that crazy? And a lot of them are really dumb because it's just like the fast track lane, so it's not the entire freeway. It's just certain like parts of it, which I think is just so dumb. And they've been like converting the 10 into that. It's just made the area a nightmare.
Yeah.
But where did you go in California?
I went to Hollywood. I went to Hollywood, basically.
Oh wow. I used to live there. I used to live actually on like Highland and Sunset, so that's a block south of like Highland and Hollywood, where the like Kodak theaters and stuff. That was wild.
All right. Before we even go any further, I want to thank Tatsusama, who's I guess yeah. What's up, Tatsusama? Longtime member of the Continuum. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
do. If you ever want to, I'd love to. Yeah, hit me up. I'd love to do a stream with you if you want to, if you're comfortable with it. So, but I appreciate you for the 5 gifted memberships. So, I want to say welcome to. Well, first one, welcome Aldan. Aldan got hit by the gift, so we gotta give him a warm welcome, right? Do you hear a transmission, Lady B? Let's see what we got here. I'll start with.
I did do my Uhura thing.
Yeah.
I take them now.
Shut up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, shut up.
Yeah, please.
Just shut up, Mikey.
Shut up, Mikey. That's a future. I have to really. I've been meaning to do Beverly Hills Cop retrospective for a while. It's just
That's funny.
Taking my time. So, all right. Well, welcome Aldan, and then also Mr. Zip. Or no, wait.
Yeah.
Jacob Ironside just became a sponsor, so we got to give.
And Amanda Manethrin and High King Feanor.
Yep. So I hear another transmission. Let's see.
I swear, if you ever show your face out
I
there,
won't. I swear.
I
First,
mean,
I won't.
ever.
I won't.
ever.
I won't. I promise.
Oh.
And Man of Manethrin. Let's give one worthy of him, right? Let's see where I think this. I can't help it. I watch Better Call. I was making these while I was watching Better Call. Me and Steve were watching Better Call Saul. That's Jonathan Bakes is just awesome. So Man of Manethrin. Who else? Who else got it? The Alpha Chat himself got it. High King Feanor.
Aenor's in the house.
Let's see. Oh, we got a good
My
one for him.
homie is coming out for like
We
a
get-
book stream. Go for it.
Yeah, Silmarillion,
Wait.
definitely.
That's so fake, but
I
it's
know.
funny. I love it.
That looked real. That was a real smack. That was a real smack in the head.
Look at his face, like he just had that kind of like sound, but the rest of it, that's funny.
Yeah. So and I think did we cover Mr. Zip? Yeah, we covered Jacob, Aldan, Mr. Zip, and Aldan again. Oh well, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much. And of course, oh look who's here. We got Trip. Trip is here, and Jacob showed up.
Dempsey.
So all right. So LPK's here too. What's up, LPK? How you doing? So, oh sorry, my bad. So okay. So I mean, let's going forward. I mean, like,
Okay.
where do you think the season's going with Wheel of Prime?
Where is it going? I have no
Like it
idea.
did, like these 3 episodes, like it's so weird when they drop like episodes. When they drop a certain amount of episodes, you know that they barely cover anything.
I know. It's like I don't think anyone had on their bingo card like the Insane Asylum, like the Jack Shack Roach Motel, Rand is a Rant Boy, Nynaeve drinking shit water and dying of dysentery. And yeah, I just I'm like absolutely astounded. And the weirdest thing is it's like you look at even the storylines that they create, and it's like they're not even consistent with themselves. Like, what are we doing?
What are we doing? What's going on? And
What are we doing? Like, what is happening?
sorry, I just every time we do what are we doing, I have to do that. So
D&D review so far, Dempsey? What do you mean by that? Like Dungeons and Dragons? Or put in the chat and I'll answer you. Like if I can figure out what you're talking about.
Aldan, Wheel of Prime show is number 2 in Australia, which astounds me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Aldan. I don't know what to tell you. So, but
Yeah.
But like honestly, like
What surprised you the most?
What surprised me the most? Oh, I mean, well, the killing of, the killing of Uno. We thought he was dead, but I didn't think they'd kill him like this. I didn't think they'd I didn't think they'd spike stomp him American History X style. I'm just like, dude, what's going on here? What's happening? Oh, but like the whole Nynaeve thing, like, is that like that didn't make any sense. She stays like the third trial she stays in.
Yeah,
and I'm for a second. And what's funny is it did cross my mind that they were faking us out because she leaves, but then maybe she's still in there the whole. Maybe she's still in there,
and she's like, "What is this blood? Like, I don't know what happened. I can't remember." Like, I figured it might be something like that, but honestly, it's so dumb because it's like the way comes only once, and then it comes a second time. I mean, in the book, it's like she gets so frustrated and mad that she just makes the way herself. How do you improve on that? I mean, she's that stubborn that she wills the world to like conform to her will.
Oh, I don't know.
But instead, we get sewage. Okay.
And what do you think of the whole 4D? I mean, I know you guys probably talked about it a little bit. I don't think I was here, but the whole 4D chess thing with Leandrin and Min, were they predicting that Matt would go and like Prophet said would go all Andy Dufresne and start digging into the wall and digging into the stone wall and
I honestly don't know what's there because first of all you have the guy like Matt just leaves like before he just chooses not to go in the ways and he just stays behind. And so when did they capture him? And like,
so didn't like Moraine send word to the Red Aja to capture Matt or something?
Yeah,
that was in episode 8. So
yeah, at least that's one thing she actually followed through on.
Oh, Jesus. Like Moraine, I don't know how do you expect the viewer to like Moraine? Like I can't stand her. or moron is all you
Moron is
white
so
cloaks call her.
stupid because
Oh,
like,
well, sorry, I know you love Logain, but Logain could be the Dragon Reborn too.
he's
Oh,
a
it's
backup
just-
dragon. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. But
Oh
like, doesn't she
God.
say that? And like, doesn't she say that in season 1 that maybe Rand, they lose Rand? She's like, oh, it's a shame. Maybe Logain's a Dragon Reborn. Maybe Nynaeve is.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I know everything. It just doesn't make sense, and it just and the lore breaking, and then like with the like sewage water thing, how they just totally redefine how the magic systems work. It's like pull this energy from the stones in the tower. Okay, like if it's a subtractive system like that, you're gonna take and take and take something out of it, and it's gonna fall apart. So how is any of this crap still standing? Like I don't understand.
Yeah, like it's like draw earth from the stones of the tower and pull moisture from the air and weave it and pour the shit water into the weave, and it comes out pure and clean. So one thing I'm going to be honest about, and because I'm still reading, I'm still a new reader. I'm still on book 4, and of course I have the book right here, Shadow Rising. I don't fully understand the weave. I don't understand like the weaving system and how they put stuff together. Was that accurate? Was that accurate? Like, so she pours the shit water into the weave, and then it looks like it comes out like the weave was like a filter, basically.
It doesn't work like that. In fact, there is like a part where I don't know if you've gotten it yet, but like Egwene is doing stuff in the dream world, and she says there's like really no way except in the dream world that you could do that with like filter something out of a liquid. Like you can't weave something that fine, and it's just silly. And I wanted to add, like, I think Dempsey had a good question. He's like asking like why we're watching it. It's not Wheel of Time, so what's the draw? And my answer to that is that there are a lot of things that have a lot bigger fan bases, like Lord of the Rings, and they have tons of fans that'll step up and defend the original IP. And I've noticed that Wheel of Time doesn't really have anything like that. Like there isn't a huge fan base. Like nobody's really kind of willing to protect the original work and stand up for the things that Robert Jordan believed in. And I do it because I enjoyed the books very much. And I discovered the books when I was going through a very difficult time in my life. And it was a very, I can really relate to Rand because a lot of really bad things were happening to me. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I was being like, I'd lost my business because of the pandemic, because of the because of travel, what do they call it? Bans and stuff between different countries. I hadn't seen my ex-fiance like in 3 years. I was going crazy. I had no money. I was just like where we live, there was a lot of like insane restrictions. Like we're dealing with like mandates and stuff like that. And it was just really getting to me. And I just felt like giving up. I was very black pilled and I was like keeping up news and stuff like that. And it was just too much. And so I just, I was, looking in a nerd-erotic video one time about how George R. R. Martin was never going to finish The Woods of Winter. And like people were talking about other things you could read. And one of the things that was listed was Wheel of Time. And I went to the library and I'm like, whoa, they have most of the books. And so I started reading it and I really, really, really enjoyed it. And I read through those books in like a month. I am not even exaggerating. Like I started binge reading these things and I was reading them in August in SoCal. That is like almost like the dead of winter there because it is so hot. Like I couldn't do my garden. So I just would get up. I would read all day. I would do my chores in the evening. I would go for a walk. And then I would come and read at night. And I would get through like about a book would take me like 2-3 days maybe. And I just, fell in love with the world, loved the story. I thought it was very enjoyable to read. I thought like the characters really fun. And what I really liked about the story was that it was a story of hope overall. It was like there's a lot of choices people make, and a lot of times a lot of really bad things happen to people that they can't do anything about. But it's always a personal choice. It's almost to be happy, but also to be hopeful. And like, when Rand goes up, you probably haven't gotten there, but he has a moment where he has to make that decision between hope and nihilism. and he chooses the right one. And I want to like spoil it for you, so I'll leave. I'll
I
skip
I,
in
I
there.
know I do know about that. I forget when it happened. I know it's much later in the story, but I do know about that. I do know that there's a point where
Yeah, he
he
has to make a big
he lets go.
decision.
Yeah, he lets go of the fact that he may fail, and if he does, he does.
Yeah, you just have to like do it, and that's why I liked it. And I'm just like, wow, way to take something that is really positive themes and just totally subvert it. And when I saw this stuff, thought it was bad, not just because of what it did to the story, but like before the pandemic, I was in film school, and I was doing screenwriting and development and directing. And I was watching this show, and I don't think I have ever seen anything that's a delivered product. Maybe like one movie that was had so many technical mistakes. Like there was continuity issues with like
Yeah.
directions and filming, and like where the sun was. There were editing mistakes. The lighting was atrocious. Like it was just, wow, this is awful. And I always hate seeing stuff like that, being like somebody that was really trying to break in the industry, because it's just so disheartening. It's like, imagine that every day you're putting like 150% of your effort into your work because you want to succeed.
Yeah.
And then looking at the stuff that does succeed and gets produced, and you're like, if I turn this in as an assignment, it's not a passing grade. And you're just like, how do I even get into an industry like that? And then you realize it's really just not about talent, it's about nepotism and other things. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, like you said, it's nepotism. It's believing in the right stuff now. It's having the right ideology, and it's ridiculous. Like I don't understand this myself. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's like Adfly says, that's the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
And like I'll be honest, like I mean. These books, I mean, like I even though he'll never finish it, and this is not the right thing to show, but this the Song of Ice and Fire.
Those are great covers, by the way.
Yeah, this is the comic or the graphic. This is the first
Oh,
volume.
the graphic novel.
Yeah.
I was gonna get mine, and maybe I'll bust them out, but yeah, it's.
I don't know if he got, like, they were coming out with Clash of Kings stuff. I'm not sure if they got up to Storm of Swords yet, but I only have the first volume of Clash of Kings. But like when I was going through a dark point in my life too, this was going to be 9 years now. My father was in out of the hospital, and there was points where I thought that he was dying, and unfortunately I was correct, because he did pass away that year.
Oh,
and
sorry.
And this was during. So last thing I actually watched with my father was season 4 of Game of Thrones, the finale.
The last good one.
Yeah, that pretty much. And I'll be honest, season 4 was stretched. Like they stretched because they didn't. I don't think they had enough material from Storm of Swords for a full 10 episode season, so they had to stretch some of the stories out, and like John going and fighting that one dude in the at the what the hell was that dude's name? The guy with the guy that inbred, the guy that had the inbred daughters, and he killed the sons and all that. I forget his name. Craster.
Yeah.
So there were these mutineers that killed the Lord Mormont, and they took over Craster's Keep in the north of the Wall, and
that was like in the book though. Like that actually happens, and that's where there's that kind of like power vacuum. Like I kind of enjoyed that because it seemed like pretty realistic. Like if you had a bunch of guys and nobody wanted to be up on the wall, and we're all like the worst of society, it's like,
yeah. I'll be honest, like Song of Ice and Fire like really got me into reading again. So I read all 5 of the books, and then once that was over with, I actually read. I started reading Stephen King. My buddy of mine, my buddy Marty, kept bugging me for years to read the Dark Tower series. So I read the Dark Towers. Because the Dark Towers,
my brother like did the audiobooks of that when he was working at night at with Terminex. And he got so bad at those books because I've never read it. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King, but he's like, apparently they just kind of go round and round and round and kind of end up where they start. And man, dude, he was like,
Stephen King does a good job with, and my friend said this on our previous stream. He's very good with redemption arcs. He's just not very good with concluding, like especially a very long
yeah,
story.
his endings like suck. Like apparently, like this ending of it was like, okay, that's how the books ended, and I'm like, that was awful.
I'll be honest. I think the movie. I was so disappointed. I don't know if you probably haven't seen the new movies. I thought
I
Volume
did
2.
see.
I
Actually,
love
I've
Volume
seen
1.
it.
I hated
I've
Volume
seen
2.
both versions of it, and like I thought the first one was so bad because it's like there's obviously two stories there, and the new one was way better because it took the two stories and it's like, okay, here's everything that happened in the past, here's everything that happened in the future, and I just thought
Yeah.
it was really good, even though the ending was kind of stupid. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And the book kind of goes back and forth between the past and the present. And then I think the second half of the book is completely in the present. And in that case, in the book series, I believe the present is the mid 80s. I think 85 or
yeah,
something. And the past takes the childhood was the 50s, when
yeah.
Stephen King's age, because he was born in 47. So he was a young kid in the late 50s. So but like, yeah, I read it. I read The Stand. Those are like the thickest. Those are the thickest
the really
of
big
Stephen
ones.
King books. And I think I read Eye of the Dragon, which was a fairy tale based story.
Yeah.
And he recently came out with another one called Fairy Tale. So
Yeah,
I think
mom like did that on tape. She enjoys it like more than I do. So like I think she was telling me about that. She thought it was pretty good. Like it was closer, I guess, to the older stuff. And
yeah. But I did love the early Dark Tower books. Like it was there was a lot of especially the first book where it's complete fantasy. Like you're completely in an alternate world. In this case, it's a world that has quote unquote moved on, and it's all pretty much desert. And you basically start. I mean, the very first line of the book is the man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. That's how the book. That's how the first book opens. And it's just him chasing a dude, and it's split up into like 5 episodes. And there's a point where he comes across a kid, and he lets the kid die. I'm not gonna say how, but he lets the kid die, and let's just say there is a redemption for that, because it was either he saves the kid or he loses, or he will never catch the man in black. So. And there was like things that were referenced in other books that made an appearance in the Dark Tower. Like, so there's like an evil hotel, or there's an entity, because like the hotel from The Shining is actually like an evil entity. So they encounter some evil entity or something of that same species in a random house. And of course there was another clown, or another species of Pennywise or whatever. So yeah. And
it always makes me laugh because I have this cat, and her name is Ketty, and she's about like yay big, and she's a freaking demon. She's a goblin, and I found this cat when I was walking up it was night, because it was it's so hot in California that during like basically like July through September, I would do my I would go about like 4 or 5 mile walks every night. I would do it at night, and so I'm like going up the hill above the freeway, and I see this creature like run out in the street, and I'm like, oh my god, is that a cat or a skunk? And I was with my ex at the time, and he was from the UK, and he's like, it's a cat. And I'm like, are you sure? Have you ever seen a skunk before? And he's like, no, it's a kitten. And then I saw like the car was coming, and she ran back onto the sidewalk, and we ended up chasing her along the bushes and against a brick wall. And she was like, she's about the size of my hand. So she didn't last very long, and she kind of ran out of steam, and we caught her, but she jumped out of the storm drain. And so we were like kind of calling her Ketty Wise for a long time. And she has that energy big time. Like, oh my goodness, she's a goblin. She doesn't like me. I had to give her medicine and give her baths and stuff because she was in rough shape when we found her. But Kitty Wise.
Does she call you by name too?
She goes.
That's cool.
She has these funny little teeth. She's a weird cat, and like her front teeth, she like she never lost her baby teeth, so she has her like 2 sets of fangs, and
Yeah.
then one of her fangs are missing, so like she just looks really scary, and she's all like, she makes this funny noise where she just goes meow at me because I'd always want to pet her, and then she'd start to squeak, and I just wanted to hear her make the noise, and so I think she got conditioned to do that, but she does not like me. I've never had a cat that like attacks me, but she will. Yeah,
have you ever seen that Pet Sematary?
Yeah, I've never seen it. I should, but like, yeah, I think it was because it was scary and there were animals, and I was a little kid at the time, and yeah.
Not just animals, but killer kids too. You know who's in the. So they made 2 of them. They made one not too long ago, a remake, and they made one in the 80s. You know who's in the one in the 80s? Denise Crosby from Star Trek. From Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yep, Tasha Yar. So I don't know if she made that first, but I would not be surprised if she left Next Generation to be in that movie, or maybe she was in that movie first. I'm not sure, but I just have to do the connection to Star Trek right there. So, but you're a big Star Trek fan. So like you've been, are you a fan of all the real shows?
Yeah, well, okay, so I grew up like when Next Generation was like really big, and I remember watching it kind of from the first couple of seasons, and my mom liked the original series a lot, so it wasn't really on TV that much, so we didn't get to see it, but she watched The Next Generation, and we all watched it together, and then when Deep Space Nine came out, that was like, wow, that was my favorite, and oh my god, I had such a huge crush on Dr. Bashir. He was such a nerd, like so hot. I was like,
yeah, I'll be honest, like it was Deep Space Nine was the one show that was not on the station that had all the other Star Trek shows. So the independent station, Channel 50 in Chicago, would show, sometimes it would show the original series when I was younger. But when I actually got into Star Trek myself and wanted to watch more episodes, it was not on. It was actually it was on the Sci-Fi Channel on cable. We didn't have cable. We didn't have cable when I was in the 90s, when I was a kid, in the mid 90s. So I couldn't watch it. So what I used to do was I used to collect the blue boxed VHSs, the 1994, 95 reissue VHSs and everything.
Wow, that's cool. I used to just straight up like record them when they were on TV, and then I would stop when there was commercials.
I used to record The Next Generation. So here's the thing. So there was one point where they actually the independent station Channel 50 actually aired the original series when I was collecting the episodes, because this is before DVDs came out. This is before seasons of DVDs of shows came out. So the only way to watch it was either if it was on TV or if you were lucky enough to find it on VHS and buy it. And each episode, one episode of Star Trek on VHS, when I first was collecting them as a kid, it was $12.99 per tape, and that was $14 back in 1997. That's $14 for one episode with tax and all that. So, and I used to take the bus to the mall and go to the Suncoast Video, and hopefully they had the episode. Hopefully they had the episodes on hand, and I would look at the box. I would literally judge the episode by what was on the box. There was one episode in particular where you see the Enterprise and it's being surrounded by these beams, these laser beams. And of course, that episode was ended up being, the Tholian web, where Kirk Kirk disappears. There's another Defiant. So in that episode, there was a Defiant. So before the Deep Space Nine Defiant, there was the Defiant on that episode, and yeah, so the whole ship vanishes with Kirk on board it, and people so on board the Enterprise, everybody starts to go crazy because they're in this weird part of space. And while that's going on, you have these Tholians coming in and saying, "Hey, you're in our space. Get the hell out." And Spock's like, "Well, we'll get out when this so and so happens." Well, so and so doesn't happen, and so then they open attack, and then they do their little Tholian web thing around them, and they're like, "Shit, we're stuck."
I know. I like we had this like independent like video store that was just down the street from where we lived, and they had a lot of the old original series Star Trek. So that's how I watched those ones. And I think I watched all the ones they had there, but it was never my favorite. And so, but like there's always like Next Generation was on. It was on Channel 13, which is UPN at the time, and
That's it.
Deep Space Nine was
That
on
UPN.
there.
Deep Space Nine was not on there. We had it because in Chicago we had it in WGN. It was on WGN,
Oh, okay.
Channel 9. So
That's
like
cool.
Deep Space Nine would be on at a random time. Like it would, like if there was a Cubs game, then the episode would get cut off.
Yeah, it would definitely. But like they usually had like it was usually on at like 7, like every night was like TNG or something, and then
Yeah.
they would have new episodes on at Sunday. I think at like 8 or 9 or something. It was Sunday was always the day. It was like, yeah, we were watching Star Trek. Oh, it's such a good memory
Trek
of
shirt.
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek
Oh
shirt, by the
yeah,
way.
I see it. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. Are there like the copper colored ones are the Ferengi ships?
Where?
Can't tell. On your shoulder.
Right
like
here.
Yeah, I can't remember. Who is that?
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably Ferengi or Cardassian.
Yeah,
Cardassians
I don't
have
like.
the orange
Yeah,
ships too.
it's Cardassians maybe. I totally. It's like, to be perfectly honest, Star Trek was like my first love, and I haven't really watched it for a long time. So me and my brother will randomly find it on TV, and we'll just watch it. And my brother liked it too. I mean, I have like this really great picture. I did a Halloween costume where I was like Jedzia Dax one year, and then I did
Nice.
a Bajoran Vedic, like for a convention. I actually won 3rd place in a costume contest, and I got like $50, which I was so excited.
So did you get like
I just
like
drew
the
it
nose,
on.
the ridge
I just
nose
drew it on
prospects?
with eyeliner.
Oh, so you just drew lines. You just drew lines like that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't know, like 12, 13 years old, and like that was around my birthday, and that's when I got to meet Dr. Bashir, like sitting up a dill, and I was just like, ah! I still have like this autograph picture and stuff. I was just so stoked, and it was just so fun. And that was just, it was such a different time, because it's like, we didn't have the internet, and
Yeah.
you could join the fan clubs, but it's like, like put your name and whatever and send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we'll send you the newsletters. And like I did that, and I remember going to see the premiere of Deep Space Nine one season way down in it wasn't that far. It was like North Orange County, so it was like 30 minutes away from where I lived, and my mom went with me. And I was just sitting there with people, and it was like kind of weird because I was way younger than everyone there, but like I liked it, and they were really cool, and my mom was with me, so it was okay, and we just had a good time.
I never went to anything like I never went when I was a kid. I never went to a convention. I was always isolated. I didn't know anybody for years that liked Star Trek. Part of the reason why I started this channel was because one thing I noticed was that people, especially younger people, were when I bring up Star Trek, they always think the JJ films. And I was like, no. So like the very first video after the introductory video I made was me talking about the original series, and I showed clips from every episode. And I just kind of did a brief little overview, and of course it's my earliest video, probably some of the worst quality, probably the worst audio quality ever. So I was Sweet Summer Child. It was about 2.5 years ago now. I can't believe it's been that long since I started the channel.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, my first 3 projects were Star Trek projects. I did one for the original series, like an overview. I made a trailer. I made a VHS style trailer that you would see before watching a feature film. So I made something like that. I used the 1995 Star Wars trailer because I bought. So if it wasn't for Star Wars, if I didn't buy the the original Star Wars trilogy, the 1995 reissue, which was the last version of the original trilogy, the last original theatrical version of the original trilogy, because 97, I'm sure you remember, that's when the 20th anniversary happened. That's when they came out with a special. They came out with a
Yeah,
special edition.
the remaster ones.
Yep, with all that new crap that people.
God,
didn't like.
that makes me feel like so old.
Yeah,
It was
same
like when
here.
the Phantom Menace came out too. Oh my god, I remember ditching class in high school to see that, and I was like so cool because I'm like 18, I could just sign myself out. My friends hadn't, so.
Yeah, I was Phantom Menace. I was in 8th grade. I was graduating from 8th grade in '99, and we were in Springfield because I'm in Illinois. We traveled to Springfield for the 8th grade trip.
Wow.
And the one of the chaperones wanted to see Star Wars, so it's like, who wants to see Star Wars? So it was me and 3 other guys. So we went and saw it, and I'll be honest, I really enjoyed it. I mean,
I love that
thought
movie.
Jar Jar was.
It's not a good movie, but I like it. It's enjoyable.
It's not a great movie, but like we were like right after the movie, we knew right away that like Anakin and Amidala were going to be. They were going to be screwing, and she was going to be we knew right away she was going to be the mother of Luke and everything. So, but it was a lot of fun, like seeing the lightsaber, like seeing the Duel of the Fates was amazing. I actually really enjoyed.
My favorite character of that, like he's awesome.
Yeah, I was
so hot.
I went into that thinking that Maul was going to be. I thought Maul was going to be like the Vader. I thought Maul was going to be the Vader of the prequel trilogy, and he was going to be in all 3 movies. Nope, that didn't happen.
Nope,
that didn't happen.
And then they bring him back in the freaking Clone Wars with all of that crap and the Witches of Dathomir, and then him and his brother are like absolute simps for these people. I hated that. Just for the record.
They were simps for who? Mandalorians?
Oh, the witches of they're like
the
this
witches
planet of Dathomir, and they're sort of like the enthralls of these witches of Dathomir that kind of steal little boys, and it was kind of like a subversion of like 300. I hate that. I like how they kind of brought him back, and that he has this kind of like interesting arc, but I just did not like that part of the like story.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Stupid.
Yeah, Savage. Yeah, I liked. I actually liked the Night Sister. Actually, that was really where I actually started to get interested in the Clone Wars, because the first couple seasons of the Clone Wars, not the original Gennady Tartakovsky microseries, which, in my opinion, now that I've looked back to it, I actually think that one was better, and it was more in line with the lore and more in line with the movies, I believe.
I like that too, like that one that has a weird animation style.
Yeah. And by the way, Gennady Tartakovsky, his show Primal, show Primal is excellent, except for maybe the finale. So yeah, I'm with Salty on. I felt the finale was kind of rushed in my opinion, but the whole show, the whole show was insane. Like the first episode is a gut punch. I can't say why, but you will know when you see it. It shows things that would scare any adult. I can't say what kind of an adult, because I'd be giving it away. So
so just if I see it, like what network was it on?
It's on HBO, or it's on Max now.
Max,
so. Yeah, so
I like Asajj Ventress too, Dempsey. I'm wondering if they're going to bring her in Ashoka, but I'm not watching that.
Ventress is dead. Ventress is dead. So they canceled the Clone Wars. After season 6, and then they released a series of books that basically cover the final 2 arcs, the final 8 episodes featuring Ventress, and Ventress ultimately gets killed by Dooku. So she teams up with Quinlan Voss. I forget exactly what it is, but ultimately she gets killed by Dooku. Dooku blasts her with lightning, and she gets killed. And it's Quinlan Voss and Obi-Wan that actually bury her. They take her back to Dathomir and they bury her. I think, or maybe they burn her. I forget what they do exactly.
Yeah.
But whatever the custom is for that. So, but that was an excellent read. It's a shame that they didn't adapt that into animation. I would have loved to see that. Same with the Sons of Dathomir, which was a follow up to, so you've seen all the Clone Wars, right? So you know how
Yeah, it's like I watched all of it, and then like I was at the celebration where Dave Filoni was like, "Yeah, it's just like Disney bought it, and it's like they don't want to continue doing this, so I'm not going to keep doing that." And he was going on and on and on about like I had this artistic vision, blah 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 blah, and
Yeah.
then like the next TV series is like, "No, we're bringing it back. It's not going to be like we're doing Rebels now."
yeah,
And that show was trash, absolute garbage. Oh my god, I hate
okay,
that show.
Rebels was a step down.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. But I did like the first season, especially after they bring Tarkin on. Then the show started to get serious because it was all cartoony before that.
Yeah, I
Like-
don't know if I ended up like watching that so much. I just like, okay, I'm done with it. And then like Ezra came in, and I'm like, that kid is so freaking annoying. And of course, he's gonna be a Jedi.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The episodes of Rebels compared to the Clone, I mean, I'll say this right now. Rebels is inferior to the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it is. It's not. I mean, like I like Clone Wars because it was like a cartoon and it was sort of aimed at kids, but like there were some serious like adult themes in there. Like I love the stories of the like clone troopers and what they were going through and how they had these really short like lifespans and how a lot of them had like they were disabled from fighting or like they had PTSD or they were trying to figure out like how do I become an individual like when we're all the same and we're all put through this like kind of gristmill training. I thought that was interesting. And I liked like the part like when Ashoka was in it because it was like when she first came out, she was somebody that like legitimately questioned what the Jedi were doing and we're saying, look, it's not right to be stealing kids and like basically we're like the assassins for the Jedi Council. This isn't right. Like why are we doing this? Like who's really the good guys and bad guys here? And she like I remember that episode where she came in and she basically said that to the Jedi Council and walked out and she sort of turned it back on them. And I was like, wow, this was the Star Wars I've always wanted. This was the Star Wars like universe that I imagined. And half of the reason why I liked the Phantom Menace was there was so much more world there to imagine. And I saw things as like a teenager there. And I started like my imagination started going in different directions and I could start like asking questions like that or things that I would think of because me and my friends in high school, it's like we used to play like Dungeons and Dragons, but like the Star Wars version of it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And we had a great time doing that. And like we come up with ideas and like maybe we wanted to do things that weren't like the Jedi Code or whatever. And it's like, what's the like what would happen in the actual like Jedi universe? And to answer your question, Dempsey, I love playing Dungeons and Dragons. I've played 2nd edition. I've played Pathfinder 2E and 5th edition. I hate 5th edition. I don't mind 2nd edition, but like it's a bit of a meat grinder in the early parts. My favorite so far has been Pathfinder. So just to answer your question, I love it. I like doing the tabletop stuff. And sometimes if I forgot to bring my dice with me when I moved, but we would use our dice sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fun.
I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played those type of tabletop games. I don't think I've ever even seen it played until I saw the first season of Stranger Things. I don't even understand how that works.
I know. I don't think I did. Like my family did, and then like my mom, my mom loves Stranger Things, and I think that's really funny. But because that's like really, I mean, she's like 77 almost, and she just, I mean, that's totally after her time. And then I was like, oh yeah, Lisa, this is what you used to do with your friends in high school, and I'm like, yeah, but it was Star Wars, and now this is what I do with my friends, and like I play with a bunch of my friends that are in Canada, and it's really fun because we'll play over Discord, and there's stuff online that lets you play like Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and Shard Tabletop are the 3 ones that I've used, and they're really fun to use, and anyone can use them. A lot of this stuff is free. You just have to get the modules, and yeah. I like it. It's kind of like it's almost like I don't like playing video games just because it's sort of like there's like hand-eye coordination that I'm just not good with in that way. Plus, I don't like the sort of like the stress I get when I'm playing them, and yeah, I think I have like I used to have like a gray like the original Game Boy, and I still have it. It still works, but we don't like want to play it because obviously it's like a relic now. But I have a the flip top one. What is that? The Nintendo DS, and
Yeah.
like the games I play are like Maki, like Solitaire. I'm so
Okay.
basic with that stuff.
I grew up with I mean, Nintendo was my babysitter, so I had a Nintendo Entertainment System. I used to play Super Mario Brothers, Mario 2, Mario 3. Super Nintendo came out, got N64.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we had an N64, me and my brother.
So
and it was broken. It was so cool. We had this one cartridge for like it was all the Mario games, and it was broken, so you could play them. And if you press select, you could go through all the different iterations of Mario. So you could get Raccoon Tail Mario, you could get Fireball Mario. Like it was so cool, and we don't know what it was. And then I think my brother actually like, because he's a mechanic now, and he kind of took it apart and he figured out that there was some kind of short in the game.
Oh, really?
It was great. Yeah, but it was great fun. But that was like the only way I could win that game because I just really sucked.
Yeah, I mean those games were designed to be fun, and I still play like the newest Mario games. Like they're coming out with another 2-dimensional Mario game, and I think in a month.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm still gonna play it. They recently had a Nintendo stream about it. So yeah, so I mean, I don't play as much video games either. Like, I mean, I played Zelda for Legend of Zelda. That was my gateway into fantasy. I've said this on multiple streams.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, before I read Lord of the Rings, before I even heard of The Hobbit, as a kid, I was playing the Legend of Zelda series.
Oh yeah,
and I think that and the closest thing to an epic fantasy was actually the Ocarina of Time, the N64 game.
That
first
was
3-dimensional
cool.
one. Yeah.
Like was that the no, Mags was playing Final Fantasy, but like the Zelda one's kind of like that, isn't it?
Yeah, so that game is basically you start like it starts off. Link starts off. He's a kid, and he grows up in this forest. He's isolated from the rest of the world. He grows up with these kids, and these kids never grow up. So it's almost like a fairy tale. And the guardian of the forest is this giant tree. Well, let's just say the villain of the game wants something from the giant tree. This giant tree is an ancient being, kind of like almost like the Green Man, except it's not a green man. It's a giant tree, the Deku tree. Mm-hmm. The villain of the game sends a monster to inhabit it and slowly kill it from the inside. And so the first dungeon, Link has to go into the tree and slay the creature, the boss, and you get the very first key item of the game. So you go in. So as in the Zelda game, you go into a dungeon. The dungeon's made up of several rooms, and rooms usually have doors, and there's usually locked doors. So you have to go explore the dungeon to find keys or find the tool of the dungeon in order to access the boss, in order to get to the boss. And then you slay the boss, get the key item, and then you move on with the game. And usually you go further into the world, and you meet the princess, and shit goes down, and the middle of the game happens, and Ganon, the villain, takes over the world. And you're like, where's my friends during all this? Because like there's a big time gap. So like there's a time gap. He doesn't know what happened to his friends, so he has to go find them all and bring them together, and to beat the bad guy, to beat the villain. Ultimately, it's good versus evil, and that was that. I mean, that game really got me interested in fantasy. And then a couple of years later, I read Lord of the Rings for the first time, which was a difficult read because I was not much of a reader as a kid, especially in high school.
Yeah, that would be really hard to read. Like I could see that.
So like when I was in American Lit. In sophomore year of high school, same with World Lit. A lot of the books I read Cliff Notes. I read Cliff Notes. Yeah, I know. Not very white cloak of me. So,
no,
yeah.
I mean it's fine. Like I know reading is difficult for people sometimes, and especially if it's not something they're super passionate about. Like my brother is not a reader, my dad is not a reader, but he will read books, but it just takes him a long time. So I appreciate that. And like
growing up, I always had trouble with reading comprehension. So like whenever whenever the teacher read to us in class, I would like if not, unless there's only one book there was only one book that a teacher read to us that I actually paid attention to, and that was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. C.S.
Oh,
Lewis.
that's cool.
Like
I
that
like
was
that
the
book.
one time I actually was totally engaged with that story. But every other story that was read to us was boring, or I just didn't care about it. And then once you don't pay attention to to it from the beginning, you kind of you lost the plot forever. And then not only that, the teacher read sequels to that book. So I had, for a whole year, I didn't listen to the reads and everything. So
Yeah.
But yeah, but that was one thing that I always struggle with, was listening and reading comprehension. So, and that's something I still kind of struggle with today. So, sometimes when I space out, or I don't pick up on everything. That's usually what it is. So, but
No,
hey,
I mean,
doing these actually helps. Doing these actually helps. Makes me.
Yeah, I think that's cool that you do
hyper-focused.
that, and I appreciate people that I mean, I always try to think about that because sometimes I forget, because that's like my forte is like, I'm a writer. I love reading. I've been a voracious reader since I was a very little kid. Like, I would get in trouble when I was in elementary school for reading things that like weren't kids' books. Like, I had Watership Down once. I started reading.
I love that.
I
book.
love that. That
Watership
was
Down.
so fun.
I have said this on stream, and you guys have to forgive me, but I stopped reading Wheel of Time to read that book, because the author,
Yeah,
I think
it's
the
good.
author passed away. Richard Adams passed away, and this was that back then I was still reading George R.R. Martin's not a blog, and he talked about Richard Adams, and he said Richard
wow.
Adams didn't go to conventions. He wasn't part of us, our group, or anything, you know. And he talked about the books that he read, and that he wrote. And I looked him up, and like, not only did he write these books, but the movies were adapted. So Watership Down was adapted to a
I
really
remember
violent.
seeing that.
It was a violent
Yeah, it
1978
was.
movie.
It really, really was. And yeah, I think I read stuff like that, and then I'm like, oh, I could read these basic books, and it's not a big deal. And then I started reading like Colin McCullough's First Man in Rome series, which are awesome. She writes a book about like
What is it called again?
It's Colin McCullough's First Man in Rome series. Like, I think the first one is like First Man in Rome, and it's about Gaius Marius, who is known for like the military reforms. He was a like plebeian senator that made his way and was elected consul. And Gadfly, I think maybe you can help me out with that. Like, and then she had one about it was like the late Republic with Julius Caesar, and she had a whole bunch of them, and they were definitely not kids' books. And of course, I read all of the like Deep Space Nine and a whole bunch of Star Trek books, and I just like reading stuff like that. And I would read, like, I read Tail Chaser Song by Tad Williams, and I know I've talked to Trip about Tad Williams before. I actually went and read like Green Angel Tower recently on Trip's recommendation. And you know what's funny with those books was that I didn't really like them, but when they got going and like you're in the action and stuff, it was really good, and I appreciated them a lot. And I'm glad she told me to like read them, and I'm glad I kind of pushed myself to finish them, except I need to read the last one. But
I have the Dragonbone chair.
yeah, the cool thing about those books is that they were just really pivotal in influencing other fantasy writers. So I would find things in there that like, oh, you could see this was something that George R.R. Martin was influenced by, or this was something that Robert Jordan was influenced by. And that was so fun finding those things. So I really think that's awesome. And Trip, if you're still listening, thank you for like recommending those for me. And I'm glad that I read them.
I'm curious what Robert Jordan was influenced by, because was he? I mean, I know he wrote Conan the Barbarian books in the early 80s, or he published those in the early 80s before he even started.
I can show you something. Hold up.
So, like, was he a big fantasy fan?
Hold up. I'm going to get something really fast. It's just right on the couch.
Okay. Okay. Let's see who's here. We've got Zax is here. What's up, Zax? Dempsey says he's read Dragonlance. Yep. Gadfly's read Thomas Covenant.
Okay, so
I've heard in ages.
Yeah, so something I think is really interesting about like these people that like modern fantasy writers, and a lot of people are like going like, oh, it's Lord of the Rings derivative, everyone's trying to be Tolkien, and I don't think that is true at all. And I really didn't realize a lot of where these people got their influences from, or were influenced by, or inspired by. And then I found this awesome book at the library. It's called The Big Book Adventure Stories, and it's basically a bunch of pulp fiction stories that were collected like from, I think the first one's really cool. It's about basically this like swashbuckling princess, and she spends half of the book fighting people naked. And this one was written in, yeah, it was written in like, I want to say like the early 1900s. Yeah, this was like, yeah, the Lady Fulvia stories. It's like, this was like 1916 or something.
Okay.
And it's pretty wild, but it's like, yeah, a strong female character. Hell, she's naked half of the story. But there's some Conan ones in here, and there's just like sword and sorcery books. And it's like, wow, you read that and you're like, so much modern fantasy like came from these stories. And I've been having a great time reading that book, and I liked it so much I actually bought a copy of it. So yeah.
So that was something that Robert Jordan read or something?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, Robert Jordan did write a whole bunch of Conan stories, and I think one of the funnest book for me to read that next to Wheel of Time is that Robert Jordan was a pen name. I don't remember what his actual name was.
James Oliver.
Yeah,
Rigney.
James Rigney. Yeah. So and he wrote some historical fiction books before, which I would like to read, but like I didn't realize when I was reading Wheel of Time that it was a pen name. And then I found, oh, there's another Robert Jordan book, and it's like, it was called Warrior of the Alatai, which is super fun book, because it's like, imagine if there's like Wheel of Time meets Conan.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool things. And he wrote that before he wrote Wheel of Time. So it's like he's playing with some of the ideas that are in like Wheel of Time. Like there's portal stones in Wheel of Time, and there's kind of a portal thing there. And then there's sort of like modern technology in a like fantasy setting that they don't really know what it is. And yeah, it was just really fun to read. And then I think it's fun reading or like one of the things that I realized that was really cool, like one of my rereads of Game of Thrones is like how the whole like Sansa and Littlefinger story and Lysa Arryn story, that weird triangle that's going on there, is like a very influenced by Shakespeare and like Ophelia and not Ophelia. Ophelia and Hamlet and stuff like that. And there's things that happen in like references to like mythology and
so how, yeah, I'm curious how that's connected to Shakespeare. Lysa.
Yeah, well, the Lysa Arryn
Littlefinger
story,
and
like
Sansa.
she goes around talking about like okay, so I'm trying to remember this, and I don't have the books with me because I didn't bring
Obviously,
them with me.
Littlefinger's a creep. Littlefinger's a creep, and he likes.
Yeah, it's sort of like I think it was more with like Lysa and
Lysa, that whole Lysa thing. Jesus Christ!
Creepy.
Like,
but like
that's how Storm of Swords ends. Storm of Swords ends before the epilogue. The final chapter is that chapter. He's like, she's taking Sansa. She's sticking her head right in front of the moon door. And in the books, the moon door is just a door on the wall. It's not a door on the floor like the show did it.
Yeah, it's like Lysa
she's sticking Sansa like, look down.
Yeah.
You want to steal my man from me, because she believes that Littlefinger loves her, and Littlefinger embraces her, and she's like,
bye, Felicia.
You know who I love? You know who I love more than anybody else? Your sister. And then
I know, and he's just like, bye.
He just slightly shoves her, and so in the show she screams because you have to have that scream, for the sake of the audience. In the book, nothing. She just that's it.
Yeah, I know.
And then you have the singer there. So the singer was singing to make sure people were not hearing that what Lysa was doing to Sansa. And then he's like,
yeah, that was really cool.
Guard sees him. He killed my lady wife. And that's how the chapter ends. That's how the book ends. I'm
Yeah,
like,
and you're
shit,
just
like
like,
it's like
he's not gonna get away with that, is he? Yeah, and it's like, oh, they're gonna take him.
oh, he's gonna get. I have no idea how. I'm curious. Like, I hate the way they ended Littlefinger in the show. I hated
Yeah,
it.
I thought that was so dumb. Like the way him and like Varys like ended in the show, like they were just too smart for that.
They were way too smart for that. Like,
He was so
like,
dumb.
like I was expecting something a little bit more, like something better than that. Like,
I really thought like the whole Varys storyline was that he was like a Blackfire. I don't know if you've ever heard that like
I've heard that.
conspiracy theory.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've
And
heard
that
that.
it would have been so much cooler if he really was, and that everything
Yeah.
that was going on was basically like this split plot, and then you're gonna get like fake Aegon comes back like from because he's like
Yeah, Fagon. Yeah,
Fagon comes back right
John Connington's
Essos, yeah,
kid.
and John Connington is there, and you're like basically like, okay, you know, well, John Connington had a thing for Rhaegar, like it was unrequited love, but obviously he's very like
Yes.
faithful to him, and he's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is basically Rhaegar's son, Aegon, and I'm definitely going to keep doing it, and like it's
Do
like
you
I love how it's all set up, but it's like we're
Do you-
never gonna get the end of the story.
Yeah. Do you think that Martin starting that storyline in A Dance with Dragons was kind of late? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
you know what's really kind of weird, and I know that I said that I don't like fan fiction, but like I had started as just just to challenge myself. I started writing like this like Game of Thrones fan fiction, and it wasn't like it was using characters or anything. It was just more like original characters, but we're using the world so you don't have to do all the world building. And can you actually finish a story? So that was a challenge I gave to myself, and I actually did. And I wrote like this 345,000 word novel, so it's probably like a Game of Thrones length novel. But what I found in writing in the same style that George did was that the single person POV chapters like make the length of the book like so freaking long, because you're so limited to that one person's point of view and you never change. That it just really limits what you can do. And then when I was trying to write in his world, I realized a lot of stuff like the whole like conceptualization of the magic system. I think he was just making it up as he went. I don't think he had any kind of like solid plans, because like he hints that it's like there's three different types of magic that he hints at. It's like there's the like ice magic that's keeping like the whites and
Children of the Forest.
And
So
then there's the earth magic, the children of the forest, and then there's
Yeah.
fire magic, which is Targaryens, and then there's water magic, which is the Rhoynish people that live in Essos. That's not really ever like built upon. And then it's
water.
like
Was there water
they're,
magic?
like
I'm
it's
trying to
not
recall.
in the show, but like they talk about people, the Rhoynish people that lived in Essos, like
Yeah, because I
that were
remember
like they
the
got attacked
Tyrion.
by the Valyrians and stuff, and then
Yeah.
they actually left with Nymeria and her 10,000 ships, and they ended up going to Dorne, which is in the desert, and some of them still live on the river down there, the Greenblood, and you're just like their hints are there, but he never did anything. And what's with the children of the forest? And it seems like the children of the forest magic was in opposition to these other things. Like there was just some kind of like proto, like elemental type of magic there, and he just never really like developed it. And so it's like,
Do you think that I'm trying to remember? I forgot what I was going to say. Forgot what I was going to ask.
I mean, like if I had to guess how this like book should have ended, like you're gonna have obviously like Vagon will come back. He has a huge army. He's going to fight Cersei. Book Cersei is so much different than show Cersei. Book Cersei is an idiot.
Yeah.
She'll get defeated and she'll be out of there. And so Vagon will set up, and then Dany will come, and so it'll be Dany versus Vagon. But I think like either they would fight each other and then face like the zombies and stuff like that. But like at the same time, you're doing so much of that. Does it even make sense to bring in this supernatural shit?
Yeah. Do you think the others will make it to King's Landing? So in the show, they fall at Winterfell, because the name Winterfell. I'm like, really? I mean, if it's gonna be that obvious, then I'm very disappointed. because I could see
Yeah,
Dan and Dave doing something like that, but
there's something really interesting, and I'm looking for my books that I don't have because I left them all in California, unfortunately. But it's like so there's like that initial story of like so Westeros and Essos used to be connected, and it was called like, and they called it was like the Arm of Dorne, and it was sort of like a peninsula, like connecting like North and South America. And there was like way back in the day, there was the children of the forest fighting the humans, and then the Rhoynish with their water magic, and there was some big war or something here, and the Arm of Dorne was broken, and it sort of separated the people of Essos with like the children of the forest and stuff that basically went north to Westeros. So there's like in the like mythology of the world, there's that kind of a thing. So I was thinking, okay, that happened, and then if you look at the map, there's like the neck and stuff, like where the Tully lands in the Riverlands.
yeah,
And it's sort of like the same geographically. So what I was thinking, and I think I even wrote this in the fan fiction story, was that like that same thing basically happens, but it's the humans and the children of the forest fighting the zombies, and that's where they show it down. And it's basically all the humans can do is basically do the same thing where they summon the water magic again to sort of break off the two lands. And that's what I tried to do because I thought like that seemed logical, is that the old magics would awake. And so I had a character that was of like Rhoynish blood, sort of like being able to figure out how to do that, kind of like Daenerys did. And then there were like people that had dragon blood and they had dragons. And it was all like sort of what I was trying to do. And everyone trying to work together like in an elemental magic system.
was this in the book, or was this this
no,
was
this was just the
World
story
of Ice
that I
and
wrote.
Fire? Oh.
No, that yeah, so the World of Ice and Fire, I think it was in there. Like there's some hints of what happened with the broken arm of Dorne in like the novels, I think, but most of it's in the song The World of Ice and Fire. And they talk about that because it talks about all the different lands. And
yeah,
so that's what I picked up when I wrote my story, and that's what I think would have been really cool if like that's where like the sort of dividing line is, and they sort of like kind of have a big standoff there because geographically it makes sense. I mean, if you look at it, it's kind of like England, and there were like two walls, like back in the Roman time, there was the what is it? Hadrian's Wall, and then there was the Antonine Wall, which was farther north. But like Hadrian's Wall was at the like kind of the smallest part of the UK, so that like it made sense to have a wall there. So like, you know, where the wall is up like in north, it is like if you look at the map, it's huge, and there's just like not enough people to man it. But if they fell back to that second wall, there's like kind of like quasi historical precedence if they're trying to, since like Westeros does look like the UK. I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not George. Like I couldn't like tell you what his end game was with that, but I agree. I don't think he's gonna finish it, Aldan. I'm with you.
At this point, I mean, it's been over 12 years. So I mean, like Dance with Dragons came out published in July of 2011. I mean, it's been a long time, and he's only what 3/4 of the way done with the book, so he's not going to be done for another another 7-8 years or something. So I mean the thing that I really wanted to see, and I love all 5 books. I love Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons.
I've read all of the books like at least 5 times, and I usually end up reading it once. Like I read some part of it at least once a year, and like especially in the early books, there was just some really absolute solid writing, and I love the like dialogue in some of the books. The prologues are really interesting. There's some very interesting plants and payoffs in it.
Yeah, the prologues are always interesting because the points of views always die. There's always something that goes on that I don't remember. Like it doesn't like the prologues don't really pay off like in the later parts of the book. Like, but like. One thing I thought was that I think the Game of Thrones did dirty season 1 is that they didn't adapt the prologue of the first book proper. Like they didn't have they had the men, but they didn't have the fight. They didn't have the multiple others or White Walkers. They didn't have the sword fight. We didn't really get to see like a duel.
Oh yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we just see who was it? Like the guy fighting? Yeah, the Lord.
It was
guy.
Sir Waymar.
Yeah,
Royce.
Waymar Royce. Like Yeah, and him going up there and being like a little lordling thing. That's really cool. Yeah, I love the illustrations on that. Yeah, that
Yes.
was like such a crazy thing. And then it's like the deserter guy, and he's like, okay, I don't even care because I've seen such crazy shit, like fucking like cut my head off. I don't like I'm like go back there.
Yeah, but the way the others look in this is totally different from how they look in yes, right here.
Yeah.
Right here. That's how a White Walker looks, and that's how the others look. They are creepy as hell.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
And
it's different. Like there's whites, which are like the zombie people, and then there's like the what the show calls the White Walkers. They just call them the others in the book.
Yeah.
And like they were more like ethereal creatures, but the show
So-
wasn't really into the whole like magical stuff that much. I mean, you had
Yeah.
Melisandre, and that was
And
the
they-
most magic, but
and they didn't really. I mean, one thing I'll give. I know you don't like House of the Dragon, but like House of the Dragon at least tries to capture some of the language of the books of these books at least.
yeah.
I think Game of Thrones kind of falls short. I think the Game of Thrones show kind of falls short in that
I think
area.
Game of Thrones did way better than House of the Dragon. I don't know. It's like I just think that like they just I think the way that they fundamentally set about to adapt that show was really flawed. Like the time jumps were really bad. It's like they didn't focus on where the meat of the story was. They thought we have to give all of the backstory and try to like create like we have to turn these people into sympathetic characters when they're not, and that's just really hard to do because it's like you have people going in to make a series and they're going off with the idea that we have to update this for a modern audience. We have to put the message in there. We have to make it gritty and dark and realistic. And then it's like, okay, you're already dealing in a story with that where there are a lot of amoral and gray characters. You can't go and just do that. And it's like there's so many problems with it. And it, like I just hate what they did to Alicent. They make her like this MAGA woman, and then they like try to make Rhaenyra a very sympathetic person, and they try to like set her out as a victim too, which she really wasn't. And they do this thing that they do in a lot of shows, is like where they have like, okay, you're the strong female character, you're given pretty much everything you want, but you're still really unhappy and you're still going on about you being a victim of yourself. Like Rhaenyra complains that she's a victim of the patriarchy all the time and like, oh my god, I have to do this, that, and that. And then, but like she's allowed to marry whoever she wants. She can be on the council with her father. She's allowed to make decisions. It's just like, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. But did you enjoy Fire and Blood?
I liked it. I liked it because I knew the background, and I've read like the Hedge Knight series and stuff like that. And
Okay,
I
did.
Hedge
Yeah,
Knight too. Like that's a bunch of really good short stories.
that's
and,
about
like,
Duncan. That's about Duncan the
Duncan
Tall
Egg
and
story.
Sir and Aegon and
like
Egg.
they should have made that. Like that's like the Anakin
They are.
story of the like.
They
Game
are
of Thrones.
making-
like
they-
what happened.
Yeah, they are making.
What happened at Summerhall? Like tell me.
Yeah. So so the Duncan Egg story. So there's short stories. There's 3 of them that are out now, and George is supposed to write like one for Winterfell. They go to Winterfell. There's one that was also teased where they go to River Run, the Tullies. And then he said like there's supposed to be like at least 10 to 12 of them. And I think the final one would
Like, you don't
would be
need it.
Summer. Yeah. And then the final one would be like, what happened at Summerhall. So what happened was Egg, the little boy, becomes king. He's the younger brother of Maester Aemon at Castle Black. And Egg becomes king, and Sir Duncan the Tall, I believe, becomes his Kingsguard. I forget what they call it. I forget what they call the chief of the King. What do they call the chief of the Kingsguard? Lord Commander. Yeah, Lord Commander.
Yeah, Lord Captain. Lord Commander.
That's Will. That's white folks.
That's military. I know. I'm getting like confused. But yeah.
Speaking of which, I think we need to take a little Prophet of the Dragon 7-second break. Let's see. What does he have to say here?
What is like what are we doing? Like what is happening?
Yeah, that's really funny. I feel that way a lot, like looking at like Game of Thrones stuff. What are we doing? What is this House of the Dragon show? Like what directions that they've gone on? And what are they doing with the rest of the IP and why isn't George working? Like I one of the fun things. So we took a so I recently moved from California to Iowa and moved in with my boyfriend Alex from the White Cloaks, and we had a little like bit of a road trip. And one of the places I really wanted to go was Santa Fe because I wanted to see the George's bookshop. And I was like, now my parents had gone on vacation before. They have an RV and they take the little goblin cat Ketty with them. And my mom's like, okay, we'll stop there for you, Lisa. I really wanted to get the coloring book. And she's like, okay, we'll look for it. And then she just was like, I don't know how to describe this place, Lisa. There really wasn't that much there. And we couldn't find the coloring book and they didn't have any little cheap thing I could get you.
Are you sorry?
Yeah, go for it.
Share the stuff that you sent me.
Oh yeah,
Right.
go for it. I'll give the whole like slideshow, and we'll give you narration.
All right, so we'll start with this right here. So you're at the George R. R. Martin theater.
I got really excited because me and Alex stopped at this place in, I think it was Arizona, and it was one of those places that had like the 50-foot high dinosaurs. And Alex found all these hats, and he's like, "You need to get a hat." And I ended up finding this Matt hat, and I was so stoked to get it. And so I was wearing it, and so I went to the next stop so we stopped in the Grand Canyon first, and we have the Grand Canyon. This is like, it was so cool because we got there right at sunset, which was just beautiful. And we walked to the South Rim, and it was pretty clear, a little bit hazy. And we saw a bunch of really cool birds, and it was just beautiful. And it was a great way to start the trip. We had a really nice dinner. And then we stayed at, Williams. And then we went to Santa Fe the next day, which was a lovely drive. And this is the inside of the bookstore. There wasn't a lot there. Honestly, there's a bunch of books that he signed.
It's a small place. So there's the graphic novel right here that I got right here.
Yeah, that one. And he had like everything that they sell of his there is signed. But this is what the people at the store told me. It's like, he is so lazy and so just like content to just do whatever he's doing now that they cannot get him to come down and do anything in the bookstore or even like sign any books. Like they were out. I wanted to get the whole Hedge Knight series of graphic novels, and they were out of the first one. And they're like, we can't get him to sign any of them. And I'm just like, bro. And in like the front, that's like a very small like front part that's maybe the size of my living room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's just not a lot there. And it's like, wow, you have this whole store. Like you could have like a huge bunch of like Game of Thrones memorabilia, a bunch of props from the show. You could have a museum. And the thing is, it's like in downtown Santa Fe, which is kind of a weird city. It's kind of like a train depot down there, but there's tons of tourists. You could really, really, really have a cool shop, but he just doesn't. It's such a wasted thing. And we went to the bookshop and we went to the bar next door and we had a drink, but it was, it's like you could have like a theme there instead. Like both places are really run by like kind of woke people, and it was like Pride Month, so there was a bunch of really crazy stuff there, but it wasn't even let's talk about like some of the LGBT characters in Game of Thrones. No, it was just propaganda. So that was one of the things, but we did get some cool pictures of it. Like, that's the inside of it. We think Darrow's
this place is smaller than it seems. I've been there.
Yeah,
it's really tiny. The theater is tiny. Did you guys see a movie? Did you guys see a movie in the theater?
No, there was really nothing worth seeing there. And we just went to the bar, and the bar was really weird, and they had a very obnoxious party there. Yeah.
So when I was there by myself. I was looking for a movie. So they were showing just older movies. I was lucky that they showed a movie that I've never seen in the theater before. The original 1995 Ghost in the Shell movie. They actually showed it the night I was there. So I went to. Did you guys go to Meow Wolf?
No, I didn't. I kind of like, it just wasn't open when we got there because the time of day, it was kind of like we barely made it to the bookstore. Yeah, so it was like so you're in this like building, an art gallery, right? It's not even an art gallery. It's like it's like you're going into a house. You're going into a house inside this building. There's a house built in there,
and you're going in. It's like a point and click adventure, but you're actually going inside the house and you're looking at what's all the stuff that's there. There's lore that's lying around. You read it, you check it out.
Yeah,
There's
it's kind of like an
posters.
ARG or something.
I
like
forget what they call that type of
art
thing.
installation. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, so it was. I thought it was fun. It's a great place to bring the kids and everything. There was some horror elements to it. It was fun. It was a fun little thing to go to. So, yeah, I got bad sunburn that day. It was really hot that day when that happened. So,
and then
hey, look,
there's Alex. So
where's this? Where's this?
This is out like right in the front of the books. This is like by the Beasley books. We really like the guy that looks like Loyal there. Better than the Ogiers.
He looks like he actually makes me think of the Cowardly Lion with glasses.
Or like
Cowardly
the
Lion.
Labyrinth from the 80s.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
And
and this was the bar. Like I had this really fancy margarita, and it was just again like a wasted opportunity. I mean, Game of Thrones, for all of the hate that's still out there because the show ended, I think there's like still a lot of fans. And yeah, it was really disappointing, but luckily like Santa Fe has a bunch of really good restaurants, and my dad's friends like are really familiar with the area, so they told us where to go, and we ended up going to Thomasina's, and that place was amazing.
Yeah,
we had a great time there.
Wow. So
and yeah, from then we went from Santa Fe, we drove to Denver, and
yeah,
this is kind of funny because I as you know, I used to race cars, and I've done Pikes Peak race twice, and Alex was like, "Hey, we should go to Pikes Peak, and it's like only like an hour out of the way." And I was like, "It's gonna be this." That was one of our longest days of driving, and so he's like, "No, just do it." And so that's where we went, and it was so fun going back there. Like, oh my gosh, I think that's the next pictures that I sent you. Like, I think it's should be like after that. No, that's these ones. So these are Pikes Peak, and it was so cool going up there again. And you get you can get 3 or 4 different kinds of weather when you go up the hill. And so when we got up to the top, it was snowing. And you can
you can tell
in the picture there. And
is that what those white specks are?
It's snow there. Yeah, and it was so weird because like they've totally like remodeled the top. Like there used to just be this kind of really small shack and stuff like that, and it's just totally like fancy now, and it was just so weird being up there. But I remember the road, and I was telling Alex about rally driving and how you read the road and all the different corners, and like this is like a really scary part. And I did it like when there was still dirt, which it's like not dirt anymore, it's all paved, but like the last year that there was a dirt section, and I did it too when they didn't have guardrails everywhere, so it was a lot scarier than it is now. And
is this also
yeah, that's Pikes Peak. Okay. Yeah, so we went there.
So when I went to Santa Fe, I actually went up to Colorado too. A buddy of mine told me to go to Mount Estes, go to Estes Park. So I went to Estes Park, and I visited the hotel that Stephen King based The Shining off. If I can't think of the name right now.
Yeah,
I visited that hotel. I forget what it's called. But I visited that hotel. I got a drink, and I called the bartender Lloyd. The guy looked at me and was like, "Yeah, everybody." He's like, "Everybody does it." So I was like, "Okay."
I know. I remember hearing that.
Somebody played a joke on me. So I illegally went on the tour. Like I wasn't supposed to be on the tour because I didn't pay for it. I just kind of walked onto the tour, and they wouldn't let me into a certain part of the building, the basement. So I didn't go into the basement, but I went onto one of the floors, and we walked by. So in the book, in the novel, the infamous room is room 217. In the movie, it's room 237. Mm-hmm. So I'm by room 217, and there must have been somebody playing a joke there must have been somebody in the room playing a prank on people, because somebody creepily had the door creaked open. I think I saw an eye, and then when I noticed it, they closed the door. Yeah, I'm not
That would
joking.
be
Like
so funny.
I was like, okay, Stanley Hotel. It's so funny they call it it's called the Stanley Hotel, and the director of The Shining, his first name
It's
just happens to be Stanley.
Kubrick.
So yeah, so there you
Yeah, I
go.
really like that movie, but yeah, it was really cool. And so we went there and we had dinner there, and then we drove to Denver, and we were in the creepiest motel. And Alex travels a lot for work. Oh, this is really cool
Yeah.
because I didn't realize this. In the like lower left corner, you can see the road, and it's like the end of the W's right there. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we he travels a lot for work and he gets a lot of hotel points. And so he's like, okay, we'll stand. I think it was the Crown Plaza. And he's like, yeah, they're usually really nice hotels, but this one is in Denver. It's really close to the airport, and it was being used as a migrant hotel. And we didn't know that. And I don't know if it was currently still doing that, but it had been in the past. And the room we got was horrible, and there were a bunch of really like strange people there. Like it was like 11:30 when we finally checked in, and people were at the like at the pool, like families and stuff. And this is weird. It's like usually the pools close at like 9 or something, and there were a bunch of really sketchy people like in the lobby, and we did not feel safe at all. So we left like at like 6 a.m. and we didn't even like get food or anything. We just like off, and then we stayed at Kansas City the next night, and that was awesome. We had a really nice hotel.
I did that
there.
too. I did that too.
Yes, it's so good. And oh my gosh, we had the best barbecue there. It was so good.
I actually went to I didn't get barbecue. I actually went to a place that was recommended by you're gonna laugh. Triple D diners, drive-ins, and dives. Guy Fieri.
Yes.
And there was this,
Fieri, dude.
Yeah.
He's our guy.
Yeah, so I went to a place that was known for like this bar that was known for their chicken pot pie. So I went there, ordered the chicken pot pie, and it was delicious. It was delicious, and it was worth going all the way to Kansas City just for that. And
Yeah, it was so cool. I think like we just looked up, we were in like the downtown area, and we just looked up like the best barbecue in Kansas City, and then it was like the original restaurant wasn't open, but this place was. So we just walked down there, and it was really, really pretty. And then we just, we drove. It was just a couple of hours or 4 hours or something to Cedar Rapids, and then we were home by the evening, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, So I stopped at Kansas City, and then I went back. Then I drove back to Chicago. So it was a fun little. So yeah, so that trip was just I went to visit a friend of mine in Texas, and then I drove from Texas to Santa Fe because I wanted to go to Santa Fe, and then I was considering going to California, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah, it's like once you get like past like sort of like eastern Arizona, it's so much desert, and it's really ugly.
So yeah, I was so disappointed. I thought Texas would be more desert. Texas is not as much desert as you think.
Yeah, it's kind of like, especially if you're in North Texas around the Panhandle and stuff, it's very like
very
farmland,
green.
And it's kind of weird. Like
because I was traveling. I was going from Dallas to Santa Fe, and it wasn't until like at least 4 or 5 hours in that I finally got to see desert and everything. And I was like, should I go to Santa Fe or should I go to Albuquerque? Because that's where Better Call Saul is and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll visit that hot dog. Maybe I'll visit that hot dog place.
Breaking Bad tours and stuff with the those are funny.
I was considering. I was like, maybe one day I'll go down to because I think Albuquerque is only like an hour and a half away from Santa Fe. So
yeah, I'd like to go back there. Like I think it's really pretty, and it was just we had a really good time, and like we did some stuff when we were in California too. In fact, I'm going to be going back home to California tomorrow, and I'm going back to visit my chickens, and I'm so excited to visit my parents. And I planted it. Well, you guys know my huge garden, but I had planted a bunch of tomatoes, and they did very well this season. I'm going to say a big thank you for Pips for that, because he's also kind of a farm guy, and he was giving me some tips on how to make sure that they don't crack and stuff like that. And I did that this year, even though I wasn't there, but I coached my mom on it, and we have had like a record bumper crop of tomatoes, and my mom has been blanching them and preparing for me to can them. So I'm going to go home and probably just be canning my butt off next week and just visiting, and then, probably gonna go to like the beach and stuff and just be out there for a little bit, and then I'll be flying back. So
one of these days I want to go back. I want to go back to California.
yeah, there's some
we
beautiful, like the Central Coast is gorgeous. Like my two favorite places there are like Solvang and Paso Robles, and then there's this place called Moss Landing, tiny little town, but it's gorgeous. And then like the Monterey Bay Aquarium. It's sort of like that's like the just I like the coast a lot. Like San Francisco used to be really nice. I never go back there again. It's like scary, but like north of San Francisco is gorgeous.
My friend Brian, my friend Brian, who was in the chat earlier, me and him were supposed to go to San Francisco. We were supposed to go to San Francisco in April, first week of April of 2020. So I'm sure you can guess. I'm sure you can guess what happened there. We had to cancel it, and after that, you know, I think then San Francisco went.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like so bad. I mean, I went there the last time I went there, I think was like 2009. And even then it was like, it was scary. We were going through like walking through the Tenderloin because we wanted to have like dinner out on the like Pier 49. And yeah, there was junkies everywhere. We saw somebody shooting in the street, and that was like, okay, I'm good. And then we were like, we had a hotel out by like City Hall and stuff, and it was just, there was a lot of junkies there, homeless people, like, yeah.
Oh, so I love how it's been an hour and 45 minutes, and we only talked about Wheel of Prime for like 5.
Yeah, because there's so many better things to talk about.
5 of those minutes. 5 of those minutes. So, I mean, like, honestly, like the whole Kyrian thing, like.
Oh God, yeah.
Rand
like,
and Landfair. Rand and Land. I'm gonna just fucking say it. Landfair. They're.
I love how Rand is basically like a rent boy. Like it's just straight up like some crap from like a really bad porno where it's like, oh,
yeah, that's
you've
what
been here for a month and your rent is due, and then he's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay it this time. It's like, shut up. Like, that's disgusting. This isn't an inn, it's a freaking roach motel.
Like I'm just like that final part with them, like she grabs him and choke. What's with this? Like, what's with
choking
this
him out, and then he's having like a wet dream, and then he's channeling, and like he's just like cooming all over the ceiling with fire. I'm just like.
I'm literally right. I wrote, this is what I wrote down for that scene. I'm like, scene 9, Kyrian, episode 3. Celine grabs Rand and chokes him against the wall. They make out, and she calls him my lord, makes him keep the outfit on. Then she's like, show me. And then he starts channeling, but he's afraid. And then I write down channeling sex. Wow. He gets up and he channels some more, but he burns the fucking cabin.
That was so funny.
And then Celine flees. You're like, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. She acts nothing. This is what I wrote down. She doesn't even act like Celine. So the reason why I was able to figure out who Celine was in the book was her general attitude. She was laser focused on Rand. Everything else to her was inferior.
And it was like, think about how he finds her. It's just total, like, it's mythological. It's like you have the woman and she has like the stars and like the moon, like kind of symbols. Selene was a moon goddess in like Greek pantheon, I think. And you know, she's wearing white and silver, black hair like the night, you know, pale skin. And you're out in the middle of freaking nowhere. You're on another
world. You're not
freaking out. Like, you're wearing white and your clothes are perfectly clean. Like, you're just not like.
Yeah, and what was funny was like, and the reason why I was able to part of the I mean, anyone should be able to figure it out, but maybe it's because of me reading Song of Ice and Fire that I was just paying attention to words and everything. But like, besides her mannerisms, well, it was mainly her mannerisms, because like she feigns being afraid of the was it the Grom?
The Grom? Yeah, it's like,
so she feigns being afraid of the Grom. They rescue her, but then when she walks towards Rand and she walks past the dead Grom like it's nothing. And
I
so
know,
like
yeah.
like
I
any
didn't
normal
like when
person would be like afraid to even go near it,
I
even
know
if it
when
is
I was
bad.
reading that first, it's like I didn't know who she was, but I knew there's definitely something up with this biatch. Like there's just like there's something weird. Like don't tap that ram.
Because they set up Lanfear in the prophecy chapter where Varen and them
Yeah,
were
I didn't
talking
even
about
like
it.
that was something I didn't exactly like get like first read of it. Like I need a reread of this stuff. Like believe it or not, I've only read this series once. And then when we were on a road trip, we were listening to Eye of the World, and then we just started listening to The Great Hunt when we went to Nashville. Like,
Yeah.
and that was really cool.
Oh yeah, you
And
guys went to
we went to Nashville. It was really funny because it was something that Alex had planned to do with friends from college to do the like fantasy football draft because they always wanted to do it together. And then like my flight ended up getting messed up because the Chicago airport is a nightmare. And he was
O'Hare,
yeah, he was in what I don't remember what city. God, what is that other city in Ohio? Not Columbus.
Cleveland.
Cincinnati. Yeah, he was in Cincinnati and I ended up just flying there and I got there really super late and then it was like, okay, we're going to have to drive to Nashville there cuz there wasn't a flight and that was the only flight I could get. And so we're driving down there and we stopped in Louisville and had some really great barbecue there and tasted some bourbon and stuff. But we were listening to The Great Hunt.
Where'd you guys go for the bourbon?
We didn't really like get to go to a distillery. We're right next to the Old Forester and like Mama Bull, wherever you are. Thank you so much for that recommendation because I love Old Forester. I was so bummed out that I couldn't actually like taste it because we just didn't have time. And we owe Pip some like bourbon from not Old Forester, but there's another place that he wants. And yeah, it's the like God, it's something tropical or something. But yeah, so we went there but we were listening to The Great Hunt. And it's interesting because I am not an audiobook person and Alex really is. Like he's been listening to like Brandon Sanderson books on tape and he's just been doing like Lord of the Rings and like I just really it was a different experience and I think I get something from just holding a book and seeing it on page and different from just listening to it and I don't get as much when I listen to it but this time I really was listening to it and we were just like listening to I think it was a chapter when they're still in Faldora and Rand is trying to escape and they're just talking. He talks about somebody being like he feels like somebody's watching him, and there's some other like sensory things that he experiences that say that definitely like in my mind, I never thought he was crazy, and I think it just goes with there's somebody there, and then we started thinking about all of the people in retrospect that could be there. There are there's definitely a dark friend in the midst of the Aes Sedai. I don't want to like spoil anything. There is Pat and Fane. There is who else was there? There's like 4 people. And then there was Lanfear. Like Lanfear is definitely on the horizon there. So we figured there was like 4 different people that could be watching him. Oh yeah, there's Ingtar, Lanfear, somebody that's a dark friend, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. And then Pat and Fane. So we're like, there is actually a lot of people that could actually be watching him, like based in his proximity in this area. And it was just like you realize things like that. And there's so much foreshadowing that you don't see unless you're rereading it. So I am so looking forward to rereading it. I can't wait. But I have to get through the Silmarillion, excuse me.
I used to pronounce it that way too.
Silmarillion. I know. It's like I am so tired. Like this week has been crazy, but like, yeah, that is an interesting read. It's like, I just read the Anna Lingule. The guys are going to teach me how to pronounce this. So if you guys are listening, like you're going to have to help me out with that. But, and the Valakinta, and that's so funny because it's like, here's everything written like it's the Old Testament. And then here's everything written like it's the New Testament. And Gadfly, that's the courtyard in Faldora. But yeah, we had a bunch of, and that really started us in an interesting discussion. And then also in that scene, it's like you have Egwene doing this thing where she's like, oh my God, do you really think like, yeah, thank you, Fedor. It will definitely give me a lesson on this stuff. But yeah, but when he's in the courtyard and stuff, and then there's a lot going on in those like 3 chapters or something, and you have like Egwene and she's talking to Matt, and they're visiting Pat and Faye, and she's like, "Oh, dude, it's like this guy. It's like we knew him from our childhood. Like he would come to our village out every year, and he's a peddler, and he brought like fireworks and everything. And like, how could he be a dark friend? Like, I don't know. Like, and it's her. She's just doing this thing where it's like, I can save him. He's really not that bad. And then it's like they end up.
I think she talks to him because she wants to be connected back home. She wants to feel like she's back home.
Yeah. I think
it's
it was
weird.
like, yeah, but she was also doing that, like, I can save him, but then the totally like,
and they're telling her not to.
thing,
I think what was it, Nynaeve? Was it Nynaeve that was telling her not to, or Rand?
Like,
it was Rand that was telling her not to.
Yeah, don't go around him. He's really dangerous.
And Moraine doesn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was funny. And then you just realize how Rand is so desperate. Like he's so fighting against what he is. He just wants to leave. And
he's freaking, he's paranoid. Like there's a whole chapter where he's just paranoid that the Amerlin seats there with a whole bunch of Aes Sedai. He's like,
yeah, and they think they're going to.
He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
he tries to sneak out.
Yeah,
he tries to sneak out. And he can't.
And then he tries to hide in the women's apartments. I mean, like, it's such a great character building for Rand. And then you have all of the like chapters before that where he's getting training and stuff. And God, there's so much good stuff in this. It's like, come on. And what do we get? Like shit water, like threesomes, like
I think
Rand boy Rand, like
The Great Hunt is my favorite of the first 3 books. And what's funny about The Great Hunt is, and I don't think I've said this, but like Eye of the World feels very fantasy. Like and I'm not just gonna say Tolkienian, but it feels very fantasy. Like they go off on an adventure. They encounter several monsters or different types of creatures. They encounter more death than Mashadar and Shadar Logoth. Yeah. And and Shadar Logoth alone. And then when they go into the ways, they encounter Mosh and Shin. And then when they go to the Eye of the World, they encounter the Green Man. So
and then
there's a lot of weird creatures. There's a lot of weird magical creatures or bad creatures or monsters that they come across. And then when you read like The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn, you don't really go. I mean, there are other things to discover in this world. There are aspects to this world that are discovered, like the other worlds, the portals that will take you to other worlds or other iterations of what's in the pattern and everything.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like I started definitely like realizing this later on in the books, but like you realize that some of the stuff that they have are like they're actually just modern technological things. Like they find a bunch of Terangrials at some point, and I won't get onto that because you haven't gotten there yet. But like one of them is obviously like a Kindle or like an iPod or something. And they're just like, wow, what is this? Like there's so many books on this. And you're just like, wow, is it like just like they're finding modern technology and they're just able to channel like power to use these electronic devices? I really like that. That's kind of like, it's kind of takes something that's sort of sci-fi, but it doesn't keep it out of the fantasy worlds. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun like that. And then there's like the different iterations of the worlds. Like there's sometimes with turning of the wheel when there's not magic.
It's been hinted to me that this is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's sort of like when you're watching Star Wars and it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm curious where that goes. I've been really behind. I haven't had a whole lot of time to read.
There's some
I haven't made the time to read.
I love the part with Rue Hadid because I've always imagined that as like Las Vegas, like from like the Las Vegas that you see in the Blade Runners sequel.
Yeah.
And like, when Harrison Ford's like wandering around and it's all kind of like that. And you could see the kind of like ruined glass buildings and stuff like that. I really like that. And
yeah. So, but yeah, Great Hunt is my favorite of the first 3 books.
I can't I don't know if I have honestly a favorite book. Like there's favorite parts of the book, and I think I probably have a different view of the books too because obviously we're reading them now, so we didn't have to wait for so long.
Yeah, so I mean, there were I like all 3 prologues from the first 3. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the first prologue, the Dragon Mount.
love that. That's so good.
I mean, I love the Great Hunts prologue, and I would have rather seen that. And I actually envisioned how I mean, like Robert Jordan wrote it so well that I could easily envision what he was trying to say on the page. And so I envisioned partially, a domed room, a big giant domed room, very big, and but with people in masks, kind of like Eyes Wide Shut. But without
I know. How do you read that
the sex.
and not think of Eyes Wide Shut? I mean, God, like this is like a no-brainer.
Well, apparently, when I was doing my stream with Prophet and Pips and Nathan, they're like, no, but that's them.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's like they're wearing robes, and you can
they're wearing masks, and they're
wearing masks,
and they're trying to hide who they are. They're trying to like they even go as far as to mask their height. So if someone's really tall, then they have to try and pretend to crouch. They have to try to crouch to make it seem like they're shorter than they actually are. So
yeah, and
I'm
gonna get all the books mixed up because I read them back to back, and I honestly can't tell sometimes what happened in what book, and yeah, that's why I need to reread.
Yeah, so like but when I just the only thing I wish with the prologues was that they I was hoping that we would find out who this Boars guy was in the Great Hunt. It didn't really pay off.
You will. You'll find out.
It just seems like those prologues don't really pay off until several books
that
later.
will pay off. That will totally pay off later.
I mean, I know who it is because the Dragon Reborn's opening or prologue pretty much, tells us who he is. Everything, Jacob Carradine. So, I'm curious where that's going because I really love that prologue with him and Pedro Nile and Pedro Nile talking about how do you
a lot, the Elder Board Halls, he's pretty fun.
Yeah, so I'm just curious where the end of the prologue where Jacob Carradine is in his chambers and a Fade just shows up and threatens he's like, you have to kill Randall Thor. He's like, well, wait a minute, wait a minute. I thought what's his name wanted him for. I thought you guys wanted him to join. He's like, no, we want him dead. And he's like, if you don't kill him within a month, I'm going to kill a member of your family.
Yeah,
and I'm curious because we haven't heard from him yet for a whole book.
Well, read and find out.
Yeah,
I always hated it because George R. R. Martin would say that. I'll read and find out. I'm like,
didn't Robert Jordan say that
when you write more?
Didn't Robert Jordan always say that too, though?
Sometimes he did, but at least he would actually write. If I ever gotten a point where he says that, I'll be like, okay, I'll read more when you write more, dude.
Of course.
Oh yeah, it has so many. There's so many great setups in that. Gosh, the freaking what's his name? Euron Greyjoy chapter, the Forsaken chapter. Is
that was an insane chapter. And that didn't even come out yet. That's supposed to be in Winds of Winter.
Yeah, that and the Mercy chapter. That is insane. And then you're just like, okay, you have to go with the whole okay, there was supposed to be a 5-year gap here. Because that is just really creepy if there's not.
What 5-year gap? There
was
Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
supposed to be a 5-year gap, and the reason why he abandoned it was because of Cersei.
Well, it was because he just kept doing the story, and he realized if you can't really leave the story at the end of the book and pick up 5 years later, and you know what? Because he said that's a mistake and you can't really rectify it. I've always been I just imagine everyone's older.
That's a big reason why. I think he's taken forever with his with the Winds of Winter.
I honestly think he's this is. I don't remember where I read this, but I remember reading something where he said that the way the show ended was how he wanted the books to end, and he's just and I think there was such a backlash to how it ended. I could see how the books would end that way, and I think that you would actually earn it because there's subtle differences in how the characters are from the TV show in the book that have kind of long playing consequences. So I think that maybe you could earn that ending a little bit more.
Daenerys, I think, was a lot more likable in the books versus the show.
Yeah, and Cersei was a lot more incompetent and not much of a power player. Like
Cersei, I think, was more evil. Yeah,
she was
would,
dumb too. Like she would just do a bunch of really stupid things because she was very vindictive and childish.
And Feast for Crow, she basically, her scheme completely backfires on her. She tries to get she gets one of what she thinks is one of her cat's paws, one of the Kettle Black brothers,
Yeah,
who actually worked for Littlefinger. Gets one of them to go and fuck what's her name, Marjorie Tyrell.
Yeah, at least attempt to.
And then he goes to the Faith, or the High Sparrow, and then confesses.
Yeah, or just her whole like, let's bring the Faith militant in. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Brings the Faith militant in, and of course, once he goes and confesses, they immediately imprison him and they immediately make him confess, and that's how they find out about Cersei. And then they call Cersei in, and then they arrest Cersei. Cersei tries to fight them, and they get her, and then of course
they get her, and then she's in there like no one wants to get her out, and then it's like
and so the only person that visited her was Qyburn.
Trial of the Seven, and that guy's a creep. That was like an interesting character, but you can see like, okay, this is
he was
totally
kicked out of the
not
Citadel. He was
like.
So Gadfly is optimistic. He thinks Winds will happen, but after it has been split into 2 books, and then it will be the last one. So
I don't know.
He thinks Winds will happen, but Dream of Spring is going to remain. I'm going to quote Nerdrotic here. Is going to remain a dream.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I've seen a lot of I was reading a lot of breakdowns of people on Reddit about how much, like, compared to how he's hinted that he might be very close to actually finishing the book, or at least like 75% on how many chapters he's written compared to what he's already written.
When did he leave that? When did he write that 75? I'm 75% done. Was that like last year or something?
Yeah, I don't know if he wrote I don't know if he actually wrote that, or if people were just, it was like their what they thought that he had written.
I think he actually wrote that. I think he wrote that in his Notablog.
Yeah. All I want to say is I don't want it to be I don't want them to bring someone else in to finish it.
Like Sanderson.
No, I don't want to see something like that. Sanderson books are my least favorite books of Wheel of Time. I don't like the way he writes. I found his characterization of Aviendha off-putting. I did not like any of his characters.
I've heard the big one was Matt.
Yeah, he does a really bad job on Matt. The way that he writes Aviendha, it's like he writes Aviendha like she's early in the series and hasn't learned anything from anything
from any of the books, from any of the.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what happens so bad that I kept reading it. But man, that first half of what is it? Towers of Midnight or whatever the first book he wrote, the
Gatherings. I think it's the
Gathering Storm, Towers of Midnight, and Memory of Light.
Yeah.
And there's
originally it was supposed to be one book, A Memory of Light, but because it was there's too much to it that he split into.
And then there was all the stuff that he had to add in. It's like the Andril story. It's completely butchering of all the Black Tower. That's my favorite part, I think, is the Black Tower. And all those people, the guys in there are so interesting, but it was never something that Robert Jordan got to really finish. So
yeah. It's a shame, but at least Harriet managed to get it finished for the fans and everything. So the fans got to see the. I mean, I haven't read it yet, obviously, but I know that the final book has the last battle in it. And I was looking at, because I actually own all the books on the I own all the books on my Kindle. I was looking at how long the last battle chapter is. It's like 200 pages.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So I'm like, shit. I'm like,
wow. Thank you, Bart. Do I make you feel old? I'm old too. Don't say that. Come on. I'm gonna be 42 in October.
I'm glad I'm not in my 40s yet. I'm getting close though. I'm 39 in November. 39 in November.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh, looks
But
Mark
no.
Clark sent something. $4.99. Thank you, Mark
Thank you,
Clark, a
Mark.
member of the Nerdporeal Continuum. Because Lady Balefire makes me feel old. Here's some money. Well, appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, I don't know.
But yeah, Gadfly says it's all the characters. Really, they all become caricatures of themselves.
Yeah, I think so.
How do you know when a character becomes a caricature or an exaggerated form of themselves? They just start acting differently, or the way they act.
I think it's like the way that the thing that first struck me was that it's like he didn't really understand like the essence of the character. Like he didn't understand like I think that he didn't. The thing that got me with like Avienda was that he didn't like really pick up that he was picking up on her being like so different from everyone else. That's not what he focused on. He didn't like pick up on that like she'd really made like a change to be more like the Wetlanders, and she was more accepting of her role as a wise one. So he's writing her like, oh my God, look at this stuff. Isn't this neat? I've never been in a palace before. And I just found that so weird.
Off-putting? Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I can't. I've never read Sanderson. I learned about Sanderson the same time I learned about the Wheel of Time, and I learned about Robert Jordan.
I initially got really excited about Sanderson after watching his writing workshop stuff, and then I started reading it, and I'm like, man, this is just not for me. But you know what? A lot of people like him, and like he's definitely has some good writing advice. So
I think I know a certain guy that likes Sanderson quite a bit, and I think I hear a transmission from him right now. You hear it? I hear it. Let's play this transmission.
What are we doing? Like, what is happening?
I know there's something that happens to Shalon. I think it's in the second book, and Alex was listening to it because he's going through all the Sanderson books, and I'm like, the fuck? You just forgot that you had this thing. This is huge, and you just pulled this thing out of thin air. Oh, this is something my brother gave me. I'm just like, this is like going and like you're like in the middle of like Lord of the Rings and like, oh, like Sam pulls out the ring. Oh, this is just something I forgot I had this. This is like trinket I got out of a vending machine. Like, oh, this is important. Oh. Like I was just like, what? I think what happened too is like I had fallen asleep for like some of the other chapters. So all of a sudden I wake up and I'm just like, what the freaking heck, Shalon? Like, but you know, apparently it's like Alex said, like the later books have gotten better and there's less of some annoying characters. So, you know, he's almost done with the series and he really wanted to talk to you know, Steve about it, Aldan about it, and
yeah.
Like I said, Aldan, I had fallen asleep, so I don't know the context. I just heard like this is the plot twist. And I'm just like, what? How did she not know that she had this? Also, I didn't listen to all the books. Like Alex knew that I didn't like that so much, and that he also had all of the Wheel of Time, and that we're like, we're gonna listen to Eye of the World on the road trip. So when I was awake, like he would play Eye of the World, and when I fell asleep, like he would just listen to Sanderson. So I'm gonna give Sanderson the benefit of the doubt on that, because like obviously half awake and like you're waking up and stuff, and it was like we had a great trip and I had a fun time, but like honestly with fibromyalgia, like long car rides are awful. And yeah.
So I think it's been 2 hours. Thank you, Lady B, for joining and for doing this. Anything you want to promote? I know Silmarillion's going to be on Sunday. You said,
yeah, we'll have Sunday at 2:30 Eastern PM or 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. I think that is going to be like 11:30 on Pacific. I don't know. I got it set up on YouTube, so YouTube always tells me when my streams are. So I'll be there. I'll be back with my Christmas lights in California. That's my California set. And I am still working on my first alt tech exclusive, but that's probably not going to get released for a while because I want to make sure I get also my episode 1 review out. Like, I am just editing all of the video together now. Yeah, you can imagine I had some feelings about this.
Yeah. That's how it is. Like I tell you. Anything else? Anything else you got going on?
And I'm with Zax on Wednesday nights always. Like,
Oh yeah.
always super fun. And I think we're gonna keep doing the reviews of Wheel of Prime. I'm helping Alex with stuff and make videos. I'm helping all of the White Cloaks. I'm doing all of their thumbnails and stuff too. So the guys need something, I'm just bam, here you go. And I'm helping him edit stuff too, and trying to just do my own stuff too. So it's been really weird because I wasn't making videos for a really long time because I was having some kind of like, personal problems, and my life was just not where I wanted to be, and I didn't feel like creative. And I'm really starting to get back to it now. So hopefully I'll be doing more things. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you being here. So Chillporeal next week. I don't know who I'm going to have next week. I asked a few people, see if they wanted to do it. Hopefully I'll hear back from them soon. So that it's probably going to be next week Thursday, or it's probably going to be next week Friday. So Chillporeal is probably going to be a Friday thing because of Wheel of Prime. See, Wheel of Prime just fucks with everybody.
I know it's on Thursday, and so what am I going to do? Like,
exactly.
Alex here's like, am I watching Thursday Night Football or am I watching this? I'm like, I hate football, but I'd rather watch football than watch this trash.
Yeah. So for me, the video I'm currently working or still editing, and I've been very slow because I haven't done a whole lot this week, and last week probably should have been done by now. My Eye of the World review. So it's an unscripted me talking about the Eye of the World and stuff. So I'm trying to edit it, and there's so many mistakes because it's just me talking, and sometimes I can't find the words, and so I have to cut out all that stuff. So yeah, that's why I got to clean it up, and I got to add some pictures, some images to kind of match up with it. Maybe I'll add a funny quip from Prophet, and now I have clips of Prophet saying what's happening, so or somebody or one of the other White Cloaks or someone. So I need to find some good dialogue because I pissed people off on streams before. So I got to use those. I have to use those responses for my videos and everything. So
definitely.
But after that, I do plan to do a Great Hunt and Dragon Reborn video as well. And of course, the other video. I mean, I started anime recommendations video, and of course, my movie reviews and my video game reviews. I still haven't forgotten those. I just been very slow about doing this because I hate editing. Yeah. Editing's a pain in the butt. But so hopefully with this 3-day weekend coming up, I'll get the Eye of the World review done. So
awesome.
Stay Nerdporeal. Stay Nerdporeal, everybody. And I'm going to show the intro again, and I'm going to show the outro. So everybody, take care. Have a good night, and walk in the light.
What are we doing? Like, what is happening? What is happening?